Interesting. So how about Ford? Did he have a relationship with Ford? Would he talk about Ford, or they were not that close?
Well, they were close. They came into Congress. I think Ford came into the Congress, I think, in 48. And Nixon came in 46. And they were colleagues throughout the years in Congress. And they were always, close friends and colleagues throughout all those years. They weren't, I don't think they were pals, real close pals, but they were friends. I mean, they didn't. So I don't know that they socialized together that much, but he wouldn't have chosen him as vice president if he didn't have trust in him or feel that he was could be safe around him or anything else.
Did he trust Reagan? Was he a fan of Reagan?
Oh yeah, very much so. Well, once he got elected, he was wary of Reagan in '68 because he viewed Reagan as a potential challenger. Once he got elected president, and Reagan was not a political threat to him, yes. But as long as Reagan was a political threat to him, that was a different story.
Were you ever in a room with the three of them?
Oh yeah.
How was that when you guys were together? It's on the
cover of the book.
How was that when you guys were together?
Oh, that's the last chapter of the book. It's an amazing story. It's I call it The Lions Gather, and it was fantastic.
Didn't you have a nickname? The Lions, they called you. What was your nickname?
Oh no, my Anoda.
Yeah, I read another nickname for you that said, what was the other nickname I read for you? There was another nickname I saw that you had. Let me see if I can find this or not. But they had a nickname for you. Maybe you don't know this nickname. You're going to find out about it years later.
Oh.
Who knows? I saw nicknames. I'll find it. I'll tell you what the nickname I saw. The line of Khachigian was had
line
been
of California.
He's at election since 80s. He's registered, regarded as the line of California GOP politics. Yeah. So how many?
I had a lot of nicknames. People who worked for me probably gave them to me.
Yeah. So how often were you with the three of them together, with Nixon and Reagan?
Just that one time.
Okay, got it.
And it was such a fascinating meeting. That's why it's the last chapter of my book. Yeah.
What is this picture? What's this moment here?
That's the end of the meeting, and it was at the. It was 2 days before we opened the Nixon Library. I oversaw the opening of the Nixon Library in 1990. We opened the library on July 9th.
I tell you, Kiki, you're a very good-looking man. Look at that picture right there. Look at that smile. You look like a Hollywood lawyer. Look at that, big time.
Yeah. Well, somebody said they'd never seen me so happy. I don't know.
So after you working with Nixon, was your relationship with Nixon what helped you get President Reagan to make you the chief speechwriter?
Yes.
That's obviously a sign that Reagan trusted Nixon to call and say, who do you recommend? And Nixon made the recommendation, I would assume.
It was not directly to Reagan. It was indirectly.
What do you mean indirectly?
When Nixon finished the memoirs and was basically had gotten the purpose of the memoirs and the Frost interviews was to get Watergate behind him, to reinvent his life, to restructure, to get his financial house in order. He got paid a lot of money for his memoirs and the Frost interviews, and then by that time he didn't need a staff like he did for the memoirs or anything else. Plus, he was bored living in San Clemente because people had a hard time coming out to see him. So that's when he wanted to move to New York. That's late 79, early 80. So I was going to be out of a job. So Nixon kept me on in 79 throughout this as a consultant part-time. And then I started looking for work. And then I had friends in the Reagan campaign that he started up for president in late 79. These were old pals that actually had worked for Nixon previously. And so I had some consulting arrangement with them as well. Nixon said, then he announced to me, I'm moving to New York because I got to be where the action is. And he said, at about this time, he said, I'm going to introduce you to Stuart Spencer.
Mm-hmm.
Stu Spencer ran Reagan's gubernatorial campaigns in 1966 and was his political advisor for all those years. The Spencer Roberts organization. So Stu Spencer was previously Reagan's campaign managers. And Stu Spencer was somebody that Nixon knew from political campaigns.
He managed Nelson Rockefeller's campaign in '64.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Stu Spencer had also run Jerry Ford's campaign in 1976. So even though he had run Reagan's campaigns previously, he was no longer on Nancy Reagan's Christmas card list.
Mm-hmm.
So but he had an office in Newport Beach and had a lot of political contacts. And so Nixon said, go sit down with Stu Spencer and see if he's got any work for you. So I met with Stu in 1979, and Stu said, well, why is Dick Nixon sending you to see me? And I said, well, he said, you had a lot of contacts. So I started meeting with Stu, and I had actually did a little help with him writing some stuff. I write about this in the book. And so Stu and I stayed in touch, and in 1980, Reagan's campaign started getting into trouble in August and September. It wasn't doing well. And Nancy and Ron Reagan said, we've got to do something to get things in order, especially Nancy did, because she was sort of the boss. And she said, you know what, even though we're unhappy with Stu, we got to get Stu back. And so they called Stu up, and Stu said, okay, if you're going to get me back, even though we've had all these problems with each other in the past, the problem with your campaign is you're trying to run it from the headquarters. If I'm going to be in this campaign, I'm going to run it from the plane. You can't run it from the headquarters. And if I'm going to run it from the plane, I get to choose the policy person, the press person, the person who runs the campaign tour. Then I get to have a speechwriter with me, and that person turned out to be me. So Stu Spencer, this
interesting guy, by the way.
Yeah,
he's 97 years old. Last time he voted for a Democratic president was in 1947-48, Truman, and in 2020 he voted for Biden over Trump.
Yeah, he doesn't like Trump.
No, he's not a fan of Trump.
No.
So you get into the Reagan family. You're now his chief.
Yeah, I had been begging to get involved in the Reagan campaign for months and months and months, and they were not letting me get the job I wanted. By the way,
did they give you a reason why? Was it because
they said we don't have the money. We're having trouble with our budget. Blah blah blah. They were giving me.
What was your first meeting with them? When's the first time you met him?
First time I met him was at UC Santa Barbara again. I was student body president, and I introduced him. I got him to speak to the campus, and that was one of my jobs. I got to introduce whoever spoke to the campus.
And who was he then? The governor?
He was running for governor.
And this is 66.
66.
And was UC Santa Barbara a party school back then, or not really?
Yeah, it was a party school. But I was married, so.
I mean, UC Santa Barbara had a reputation when I was in my early 20s, late teens.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great bookstores.
Yeah.
Long bookstores. Doesn't matter what you wanted. Everybody you wanted was there. There was something in the water. I don't know what it was. But,
okay, I'm going to start interviewing you now.
Well, I will plead the fifth is what I will do if we go through that phase.
So I introduced Reagan to the student body back in '66. That's the first time I met him. So, but that was we had no conversation with each other than I talked to him on the stage for 2 minutes. But
pleasant guy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's genial. Always genial. But then I briefed him. I did have a consulting arrangement with them in 1980. I briefed them on issues along with several other people. But then I lost all contact with them because they had all these BS issues with their budget and this, that, and the other. So I didn't get hired until there was 5.5 weeks left in the campaign when Stu Spencer says, I get to choose the speechwriter. That's how I got involved.
So now you're in.
Now I'm in.
Speechwriter.
I'm on the airplane.
You're on the airplane with him.
Critical.
Tell me.
It's critical because that's where the campaign is being run.
Right.
Day to day.
On Air Force One.
No, it's not. No, this is he's a candidate. He's a governor.
He's a governor. You're on the plane with him.
We called him governor. He was ex-governor, but
how many hours did you spend with him versus Nixon? Was it more Nixon than Reagan?
Oh, I one-on-one, I spent probably in the aggregate more hours with Nixon because I worked on his book with him.
Got it.
But I did spend a lot of time with Reagan. Yes.
With Reagan. One of the best decisions I ever made in my life was joining the U.S. Army. When I served the 101st Airborne Division Air Assault, the level of pride of America being the greatest country in the world went to the roof. If you are a veteran or if you support veterans, you have family members, Veterans Day, we have brand spanking new gear for you to choose from, a whole plethora of options of what to choose from with shirts that say we support armed veterans, I am an armed veteran, dog tags, shirts, hats, all of the different gears that we have. And for the first 250 people that place an order, you have the option of 12 to 15 brand spanking new mugs that we have. One says Angry Patriot, another one says BizDoc, another one has got the U.S. flag, another one has PBD Podcast or Valuetainment or A Future Looks Bright. Go to vtmerch.com, place your order for Veterans Day. These things are going to go very quickly, and you'll get a custom mug that'll be sent your way.